If you were not with us last week, you are welcome to go and check it out on YouTube or to download the podcast. But we've basically taken a look at this idea of how we are created to not only be receiving and consuming, but to actually have our hearts turned outwards to where we are actually living lives that have an impact beyond ourselves. Like right now, Ryan is breaking my object lesson, this beautiful hand that is here to emphasize that our hearts and our hands are actually turned outwards, not only curved inwards. It was the 4th century bishop of Hippo, St. Augustine, who actually commented on how human nature tends to cause our hearts to curve inwards. And that life, that world actually becomes smaller and smaller. And there's something counterintuitive that God actually wants to do in us and through us to where our hearts are curving outwards. And so we especially took a look at an interaction that Jesus had with some religious leaders of the day, asking him how to sum up all of the laws, all of the 613 instructions and expectations of the Old Testament, of the Torah. And he basically summed it up as saying, we are to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love people. He made it really simple, and I don't think that he was saying that that's how we are to come to God. That's not how we climb our way up to God, but rather that would be how we are responding to the love of God, which is completely free. It is a gracious, merciful, free gift. And so, if we are growing in a relationship with Jesus, so not just something theoretically, but if we're actually allowing His love to do a work in our hearts, then slowly but surely our hearts are going to curve outwards more and more to where we are living for the sake of others. So to where we are changing our hands and our lives and our focus from being inwards and being on me to actually caring about those that are around us. And so last week we just spoke about how we need to actually change the question from who do I have to love to what does it mean to actually be a person of love. Today I want to take a look at how we're called to live beyond consumption. So just for a moment, and I would like you to just shift gears for a sec, because right now you are spectating, you are just watching, and I get that. I want you to participate for a moment, and just to take a deep breath. There's no trick to this, just take a deep breath, and if you can, hold it in for a couple of seconds, that's it. We don't even want to pass out, just, and then exhale. Deep breath. See, some of you you're not breathing in. So I know you guys. You're terrible. And breathe out. Okay, here's the very simple point. There is nothing wrong with consumption. We consume oxygen. We need oxygen. There are lots of good things that we need and that we are meant to consume. But if we only consume and we don't contribute, frankly, I believe that we will die. In some cases, a lot quicker than in others. So if we're going to just consume oxygen and not breathe out, we're going to die very quickly, within a matter of minutes. But similarly, if we just consume from society and the community and the government and from those around us, and we don't ever contribute, I'm telling you that slowly but surely, we start to die on the inside. We are meant to consume healthy nutrition, oxygen, to consume rest, exercise, consume, and then to exercise and to contribute and to give back. Any community would implode over time if everybody just takes. Even thinking of oxygen. If we just consume all of our planet's resources in terms of all of the trees which help produce oxygen, and I only discovered this recently that apparently half of the oxygen of the world comes from marine life. I'm sorry if that's now normal for young people to know that. I certainly wasn't taught that at school. So this is quite a revelation. And so even looking after the ocean and appropriately helps to actually contribute back and to protect oxygen. Now, I believe that a massive part of our health and vitality in our relationship with God is receiving His love, but it's also then giving His love. It's to not only be a container, but to actually be a conduit. So you would know, I'm sure, if you've been to a river or if you've been hiking, whatever the case is, and you get to like an area where a stream has somewhere along the line flowed into an area, but you know that nothing has flowed out of there for a long time and it's gross. Yeah. You don't want to drink that water. Trust me, you'll have an upset tummy, is the politest way I can put it. Because if it just stays stagnant, eventually it's going to become toxic. And that's part of our challenge, is that it's so many of us, without even realizing it, become toxic over time because we want to consume, which is understandable, but then we don't actually contribute. There isn't this in and out, this give and take. A beautiful passage of scripture found in Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10 says that we are God's masterpiece. Listen, just that word alone in the original Greek, which is the language that the New Testament was written in, it's this word poema, which is to be a masterpiece, a work of art, or some might even say like a love song. It's from where we get the word poem. You are God's masterpiece. You are God's creation. Truth be told, so many of us are living under layers and layers and layers of graffiti and grime and dysfunction that has been thrown onto this piece of art. But you were created by God, for God, as a masterpiece, as a work of art. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things He planned long ago. It is not just hype, and it's not just some self-help conference that would tell you that you actually exist for a purpose. There's something inside of us that actually resonates with that idea, even if it is abused, even if it's used to manipulate you. There's something inside of us that resonates with the idea that we were created for a purpose, because in addition to being loved by God more than you would ever dare hope or imagine, we're also created to contribute, to do good works that He planned long ago. And here's the good news. It's very different for you than what it is, in many cases, to the person next to you or behind you or in front of you. But He has created you for good works. He's created me for good works. Now, again, I want to be abundantly clear. This is not how we claw our way to God. It is a response to Jesus having come down and made a way for us to be reconciled to Him. So if you read the two verses prior to the one I just read, Ephesians 2 verse 8 and Ephesians 2 verse 9, it makes it abundantly clear that we are saved by grace, not by any good work that we have done. We cannot earn or deserve it. It is completely and utterly free. I had an allergic reaction, that's actually why I wear this sometimes, to penicillin a few years ago. And I don't know what happened. I'd taken normal antibiotics with penicillin and the rest for years. But a few years ago, something shifted, and I took some antibiotics when I was sick, and within a few minutes, I had what I think they call a four-system shutdown, like full system. Anyway, anaphylactic shock, and I'm like, Sue, something's wrong. And within probably about 30 seconds, I was passed out. And fortunately, I mean, there were a number of different things that worked out that I got help in a remarkable space of time because I was actually at home. But here's my only point. Don't get too distracted with it. I could do nothing to help myself. It's the first and hopefully last time, at least for a long time, in my life that I can ever remember just having this calm, clear thought of there's nothing I can do. I'm talking like even as everything was going wrong, I remember thinking, there's no time to get to the doctor, there's no time to call an ambulance. It's weird, but I just knew that there wasn't enough time. And next thing I knew, boop, I was over. But we have a WhatsApp group in our street, super on it, besides some other things, like screaming and, out the front door. Fortunately, my brother happened to set our alarm off at the same time, so armed response arrives outside our house, and they have a direct line to one of those like flying like speedy emergency people. Anyway, between that and someone that was on the road or street WhatsApp group, I received help very, very quickly. And I'm grateful. I mean, it was amazing what adrenaline and EpiPens and all these things do to you. I felt a lot better. I had flu in the morning. The next day, I'm like, let's go. You know, like it was wonderful. But there was nothing that I could do. I couldn't save myself. I couldn't rescue myself. It didn't matter how good I thought I was, how strong my mind was. I was helpless. I was in need of grace, of mercy. Anyway, that is all to say that what I've just read to you in terms of Ephesians 2 verse 10 is not saying that we do good works and then we impress God, we convince God, we get Him to love us. No, He's saying, I have already loved you. I've already made a way for you to be forgiven and set free, and I've got a purpose for you. And therefore, as a response to that love, as a response to a growing, life-giving relationship with Him as He continues to heal and strengthen us and make us whole, we will want to do the good that He has actually planned for us. Like, you'll want to. That's one of the signs. I will want to live beyond consumption. I will want to live for the sake of others. I will want to contribute to other people. In the same little letter, if the book of Ephesians in the New Testament goes on in the 4th chapter, verse 1 to say, therefore, I, a prisoner for serving the Lord, this is Paul, one of the early church leaders writing, beg you to lead a life worthy of your calling, for you have been called by God. Now, this is particularly for anyone here that is actually in a relationship with God. You have accepted that grace. You are trying to figure out what it means to follow and to obey. Paul would say, I'm begging you to lead a life worthy of that calling. It's a high calling. It's not a vocational calling. It's not restricted to people that happen to be on a stage or on social media. No. Wherever you are, you've been called to live a life of purpose. I beg you to live a life worthy of your calling. Then, allow me to read a few passages rapid fire. Verse 7 says, He has given each of us a special gift through the generosity of Christ. If you have responded to Jesus' forgiveness and to following Him, you have been given a gift. You've been given some special ability to do something that makes a difference. Verse 16 says He makes the whole body fit together perfectly. As each part does its own special work, it helps the other parts grow so that the whole body is healthy and growing and full of love. We have that verse on the wall because we think it is such an important reminder for us to keep coming back to this idea that every person has a part to play. And when each part plays its part, the other parts grow. Which then presumes that when a part doesn't play its part, the whole part isn't growing. The New International Version, so it's also an English translation of that same scripture, just uses slightly different language. It says, from Him, the whole body, joined and held together by every supporting ligament, grows and builds itself up in love as each part does its work. Now, how many of you know that you never think about your ligaments until something goes wrong? And until you tear a ligament, then it's like, whoa, ligaments are important. Yeah. So often we don't realize how important our part is or how important somebody else's part is until that part is needed or until that part is wounded. And just so you know, that's when the rest of the body kind of, tries to kick into force and helps to reinforce and reassure and to send, I don't know what it is biologically, but to send help to that part. I don't think it's an accident that such powerful imagery is being used to describe to us what the different parts of God's body, which is His church, the church as in like a local expression, but also the capital C church as in the combination of every Jesus follower all over the world. Like, it matters. It matters that we're all playing our part. One more translation. The English Standard Version puts it this way: from whom the whole body, joined and held together by every joint with which it is equipped, when each part is working properly, makes the body grow. When each part is working properly, when we are held together by every joint, when each part is working properly, it makes the body grow so that it builds itself up in love. Here's a simple question. Are you keeping your part apart from the body? No matter how old you are or how young you are, no matter your level of experience or inexperience, no matter your level of education or what you think is ignorance, if you're a follower of Jesus, I think it's an important question for me to reflect on whether or not I am keeping my part apart from the body. Is there something that God in His kindness has actually invited me to contribute towards someone or towards others? Whether it's in a formal context or whether it's in my everyday, ordinary life, am I keeping my part apart from the body? Now, I've got to tell you, this is deeply personal for me because there are people that I love and care about that are not in our city and that are not in our context, and where I'm hoping and praying that other Jesus followers are playing their part. We've had so many people over the years that have gone back to Zimbabwe or to Germany or to wherever. And we're praying and hoping that the Church of Jesus Christ has members that are playing their part. Our youngest daughter, who we fostered for the first half of her life, has just moved over to Switzerland for 2 years, to au pair in a town that is far away from any major city, and she's lonely. And we are very much wanting her, we're praying that she will connect to the right people, to life-giving people. And we have no idea about churches in the area. It's a lot of very sort of old traditional churches. The one that I do know of that I think would be life-giving is about an hour and a half away on public transport. And so all we're doing is praying, God, please, may a part of your body that's there play their part. We think of our oldest daughter, who we adopted as a teenager, who's living in Vanderbijl Park for the last few years, and for a couple of reasons has found it very hard to trust people, like some legitimate reasons. And so yesterday she was telling us that she's going to try church again today. Trust me, we were praying. I mean, it's probably come and gone, so we'll find out later on if she went. But we were praying on the way to church morning. God, please, may it be a life-giving experience. May your people not be weird, not be nutty. Listen, truth be told, I was even praying that in this service. God, please don't let anyone do anything silly and distracting, unnecessary. Anyway, when you care about somebody, you are hoping and praying that whatever part of the body is closest will actually play their part. That they won't abdicate and just assume that the professionals will get it done. Here's a secret. People don't trust the professionals. When they think you're paid to be a Christian, there's a little bit less credibility than when you're just a normal person and you have no skin in the game to try and you're just sharing and you're just loving and you're just reaching out and you're just investing and caring. I think that has a lot more credibility. I think that has a lot more authenticity to it. Are you keeping your part apart from the body? A few more rapid fire passages. And just so you know in advance, the reason I'm reading these and that I'm not just settling on one is so that you can see that in different parts of the New Testament, this theme is coming across clearly that Jesus has given every single believer, every single Jesus follower, a gift to serve others and to serve one another. 1 Peter 4 verse 10 says, God has given each of you a gift from His great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. I think of the illustration that Ryan was sharing earlier about the guitar. It doesn't matter how beautiful the guitar is. It doesn't matter the quality of the wood and the parts that go into creating what could be a priceless instrument. Its purpose is to be played. Yeah. Its purpose is to actually make some nice sounds, right? There's a reason. And so the reason that God would have given you any kind of gift is to serve one another well. Romans 12 verse 4, just as our bodies have many parts and each part has a special function, so it is with Christ's body. We are many parts of one body, and we all belong to each other. Yes, like that's a controversial statement in 2026. And you know what? You're off the hook. You don't have to belong to anyone. But if you consider yourself a part of God's family, then whether you like it or not, there is a sense of a healthy and appropriate responsibility. That's not something that someone else can dictate to you, but I have a responsibility to people around me. I have an appropriate, healthy, life-giving responsibility. I belong to others. It goes on in verse 18 to say, but our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where He wants it. How strange a body would be if it had only one part. Just as there are many parts but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body, please pay attention, that seem weakest and least important are actually the most necessary. And I'm telling you that in my experience, I am convinced that most of the people that are actually making most of the difference according to God's kingdom, His agenda, His plan, His purpose, are probably for the most part behind the scenes, undercover. They're not the people that you see speaking on a platform or communicating through media. It is people that are just out of sight, loving, serving, giving, encouraging, messaging, listening. And I'm so grateful that I do get to know of some of those stories, even in our context, where I see people that because of relationship that they've connected through church and through life group, where they are around the bed of one of the members as they take their last breath in hospital, that this person wasn't alone. Or when others are grieving and suffering, how the body just comes around and supports. I think of stories of where I know of someone, in many cases, just offering an encouragement to somebody else. Most of the work, in inverted commas, that gets done, where people are just playing their parts, that are having the most significant part, they're not even seen. And so that's not the goal. The goal is not to be seen. The goal is to play our part. You are invited. I want to emphasize that. You're invited. You're not forced. You're not compelled. If you are a follower of Jesus, you're invited to play your part. And I would suggest that you might just be surprised at what starts to happen in you or even through you as you say yes to playing your part. I want to show you just one very simple, quick example in a moment. And just for the sake of context, this is a British man who was a barrister at the time. A barrister in England is similar to being an advocate, a court advocate. So it's kind of like a step up or two from being an attorney or a lawyer. So when he makes reference to that, you understand what he's referring to. Pay attention to the screens, please.
Never really liked the church. I didn't even really like Christians that much. I used to think of it like a package deal. Like, you get Jesus, and so you get the church and Christians thrown. It's just part of the package. And there are some bits you like Jesus, some bits you don't like so much, just like the church and Christians. Used to find that a bit annoying. But I'd turn up the church and go through it. But I didn't really enjoy going to church. And then one day, I was at the back of our church in East London, and someone said to me, "Oh, we need help to run the coffee team." And I was like working like 70, 80 hour week. I'm like, what? And they were like, yeah, Steve, we really need your help running the coffee team on a Sunday. And I was thinking, I'm a barrister, I'm not a barista. Like, I've got a job, I don't need another job to run a coffee team. But I just, sometimes you just can't even think of what to say. So I was like, okay, I'll do it, okay. And I instantly thought, why did I do that? So I turn up next week, trying to get the cups and everything, get the coffee right. As I handed these cups to people, something really changed in me. I found myself, as I handed coffee to these people, growing in love for them. I was like, these people are amazing. Like, this is this extraordinarily diverse community. It's been gathered from across the area. Probably not another place that looks as diverse and integrated as this. This is a miracle. And then even people I found a little bit more frustrating and complicated, as I handed them their coffee, I kind of grew in love for them. And I kind of basically fell in love with the church. And then I kind of went back to the person who'd asked me to do it. I said, we need a new coffee machine. We need better beans. We need better mugs. Come on, these are amazing people. I want this to be the best coffee that they get. They're coming to church on a Sunday morning. I got more and more passionate. I started to build a team to serve coffee on a Sunday morning. I sometimes say, making coffee changed my life because I fell in love with the Church of Jesus Christ. I didn't realize why it was special. I didn't realize why it mattered. And as I made coffee for people, I suddenly realized, the church is like the bride of Jesus Christ. It's like the thing he gave himself for. Like, the church is God's plan for the salvation of the world. There's no plan B. And God is going to build his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. So God is putting all his eggs in the church basket. And I realized over those few weeks, there's a beautiful thing here. Yes, it messes up. Yes, it makes mistakes. You'll never find a perfect church, but it's a beautiful thing. And I thought, that's what I want to spend my life building.
I know that's just one story, but there are countless stories around Cape Town, around South Africa, Africa, and the world of people that have discovered what it means to play our part. And by the way, it's not just in the places that you think. I am deeply moved when I see Christians worshiping and serving God in Iran, or Christians that are loving and serving and reaching and helping people in Palestine, or people that are persevering, in some cases through very underground type scenarios in parts of the world where it's functionally illegal to actually serve Jesus, but where they are loving people. I've seen videos of people cutting blocks of ice out of a lake in the dark of night to dip people. Has to be very quick because it's that cold, because they want to be baptized. We are invited to live for the sake of others. We are invited to live beyond consumption, to where there's a healthy mix of consuming the right stuff, but contributing the right stuff. And I have to tell you, and anyone that's been serving for a long time, I think would probably testify to this too, for the most part, you're not going to know that much of the impact that you have. For the most part, there are going to be many days where you're wondering, does this make any difference? God has not put the responsibility of the outcomes on us, but he has invited us to put the efforts in, to play our part, to love, to serve, to give, to listen, to pray with, to sit with, to transport, to just play our part. I think of the story of Don Ritchie, who was a gentleman, an Australian man who lived in a part of Sydney known as Watson's Bay, which had a beautiful cliff that actually overlooked the ocean. And his house, I think, was kind of across the road, and it was known as a beautiful, beautiful lookout point. But over time, it also became known as a place where people that were wanting to take their lives would actually go for their final moments. And so Don Ritchie, from time to time, as he was looking out of his window, would actually notice someone that would look distressed. Like he could obviously tell the difference between somebody that was just appreciating the beauty and looking at the awe with awe versus someone that was troubled. And I want to point out that he was a normal person. He wasn't a professional. He wasn't a crisis counselor. He wasn't a pastor. He was a normal person. He was a life insurance salesperson. But at one point he said, I couldn't just look out the window and do nothing. And so when he would notice this, he would actually make the trip across the road and keep a little bit of distance, but he would gently just try and get the person's attention. And in many cases would just ask a question. Just, hey, anything I can do for you? How are you really doing? And in many cases, if they were open to it, we'd even invite them over to his house across the road for some tea, and his wife would bake some cookies, and he would just try and have a conversation. By the time he passed away, he had become known as the Angel of the Gap. And World News reported official figures, at the very least, as having been 160 people whose lives he had helped to rescue or preserve. His family suggests that the number is probably closer to between 400 and 500 people. Simply because you had a man who noticed and just did the little bit that he could. The Angel of the Gap. And of course, the question for us is whether or not there's any gap that we would notice. Any gap that we would feel like we can contribute towards, that we can make just some small difference, where we can just add some value. And in my opinion, it is a remarkable privilege and blessing to partner with one another and to partner with God, more importantly, in actually just trying to love and serve other people. This might surprise you to know that we've got in the region of about 360 people that are committed in different areas of serving, whether it's on a Sunday or a Friday or midweek opportunities, just with our young people alone. Some of you have got kids right now in kids' church or in tots. We have 103 people that serve in some capacity on a Sunday morning, helping to welcome and host and check kids in, helping to provide necessary security so that a 3-year-old can't wander out and land up at the front door or on the road. Those that are gifted to do things on stage, and those that are actually interested in just building relationships or doing pre-service activities with the kids and maybe helping facilitate a small group. 103 people. Between Sundays and Fridays is about 160 in terms of people that are serving the next generation. Now, that might be a little bit more on the inspiring side, and I'd love to tell you that there isn't room for more, but there is. There's plenty of room for more, and I'll come back to that in a moment. But I also want to say that just like we saw in the video, when people are in the cafe serving coffee, they're not just serving coffee, they're serving people. When we have people out in the road that are trying to direct traffic, they're not just trying to direct traffic. The goal is to be warmly welcoming and to clearly direct people so that hopefully there's a helpful first impression. We want people to be able to check children in and check families in, to be able to give them a sticker, knowing that no random person can just go and grab a kid from kids' church. You have to have your sticker with the same number as the number of your child. We have people that are serving behind cameras and sound desks and computers and instruments and microphones. Everyone's playing their part. And I just want to tell you that you're invited. If you consider this church to be your local church home, and if you come from another church, my challenge to you, it's a lot easier for me to challenge you if you come from another church, because then my challenge to you is be a part of your church. Contribute. Find a need. Experiment. Be reliable. And if you have to make a change, but in a way without dropping the ball. And I do want to add one more particular emphasis. And I don't think that this is unique to us. I think that this is probably true nationwide. There is plenty of space for men to serve, particularly as it relates to environments with other younger people. We live in a country where 2/3 of children born do not have the name of a father on the birth certificate. In our youth, if I were to look at our teens, I would hazard a guess that probably 90% of our young people do not have a father figure in their lives. And in some cases where they do, it's not healthy. And so I'm on a mission to push back against the narrative that I have enough interaction with enough young people, and especially enough young ladies, to know that there is a narrative that all men are dogs. And I think that that is a demonic, malicious, intentional narrative that is being formed by the kingdom of darkness. And so I will often have conversations. And what about this person? What about that person? What about that person? And I'm so grateful that our teenagers have adult men and women that are reliable and dependent. Yeah. And there's space for a lot more. Yeah. I'm so grateful that right now, currently serving in kids' church, we have fathers, men, as well as teenagers that and moms that are serving, and it's not just ticking a box or doing a duty. In fact, they're doing so much more than what is measurable on a Sunday. Yeah. They are modeling that there are some good men, that men can be good husbands who love their wives and love their kids. And so I just want to caution you against believing the lie that your part might not matter that much. I want to suggest that your part could matter a great deal more than what you realize. We need good men and good women and wonderful, energetic, young female teenage leaders and male teenage guys. We need everybody. And so I'm grateful that even though we would have some of our young people in the church that don't have a formal mentor, I'm so grateful when they're in a team where they get to see some godly men and women who just are consistent and present and generous and kind. Where they are picking up on the examples of those that are around them. You are invited.